deportation facilities, you're going to put them in front of one judge, 200 at a time, because there's 20 million people. That's a lot of people, right? You have to make this process as expedient as possible. So now you're putting 200 people at a time in front of a judge that is declaring them to be illegal. Then
due process erosion, CCOT, down to the fucking wire. Every single thing that the Trump administration has attempted so far and is continuing to fucking attempt. I've never stopped screaming about this shit. What happened? So when people say, oh, Hasan, you did not take the Trump threat seriously. No, it was you who didn't take it seriously, you fucking asshole. Because if you did take it seriously, you would have paid attention to what the fuck I was saying there. One of the things that I constantly yelled at the Democrats over, literally in person, like with Ro Khanna at the DNC and the Democrats that would listen to me during the election cycle, was you're not making people imagine what mass deportation looks like. This is a major fucking issue. You need to explain piece by piece exactly how this would take place. You need to explain how dangerous this would be, how awful this would be. You can't just wait until people fucking realize when it's being implemented. At that point, it's far too fucking late. And the example I would use at the time was abortion. Republicans presented a anti-choice, quote unquote, pro-life, pro-life narrative as a viable alternative that would better Americans' lives. And once Roe v. Wade came down and all these red states started rolling back the civil liberties that deny women their bodily autonomy, Republicans very quickly snapped back to reality, right? That had taken place before this fucking election. Everybody thinks they love the Republican agenda until the Republican agenda comes back and bites them in the fucking ass. And then they experience buyer's remorse. And we do this every fucking cycle. I hate it. I hate it so much. But a part of the reason why we do this every fucking cycle and we play the song and dance every goddamn election cycle is because the Democrats don't have a robust response to the Republican bullshit. Republicans campaign year round. Democrats barely campaign every election cycle. It's ridiculous. Here's another moment where this is from 7 months ago, but full stack 1130. Let's see. This was, I believe, is this the after the election analysis or before the election analysis of the pod?
The outcome of this election.
He then goes into one of the main reasons why the Democrats lost this election, and that is capitulating to right-wing framing.
Despite people like myself and many others saying, like, don't do this, you're going to hemorrhage the base, you're going to hemorrhage the base of support, you are going to cut away at your turnout, you're going to cut across many different constituencies that you rely on to create an effective coalition, and it's a very dangerous gamble to assume that you can decouple a lot of these people in the suburbs, a lot of like white women specifically, away from the Republican Party and vote for you instead. I know that they're high propensity voters, but it doesn't matter. There's still plenty of low propensity voters that you have to rely on to win.
The problem is not that if only Kamala went on more cool and edgy podcasts that she would have won. This was not an issue of culture. This was an issue of material needs. The problem is the Dem base was seeing Kamala and the party tacked to the right on a litany of issues, which we'll definitely be getting into soon enough. But for now, let's talk about the Harris campaign's focus on Kamala, the person, to see how this came to be.
And they saw in the vice president someone they didn't know a lot about a background. So, you know, who she was, what she stood for, what she did as vice president. So in every step of what we were trying to do, we had to tell a pretty robust story. We really focused from the get-go on how she was different than everyone else, different than Joe Biden, different than Donald Trump.
So we did talk about things like she's a different generation. Most of her career is from outside of Washington, not inside Washington. Her career has been about reaching across the aisle. All of these things, we were trying to tell a story and give the impression that she was different.
And people might say, oh, why do you keep harping on this? Like when it's obvious that like Donald Trump is devastating, right? The reason why I'm doing it is not to be like, oh, I was right. The reason why I'm doing this is because we cannot repeat this mistake ever again, okay? That's the reason why I've been committed to the messaging discipline, going to every single liberal or even right-wing outlet that I can to keep repeating these points over and over again, to talk about like my predictions of how damaging a Trump presidency was going to look like, which is unfolding. Okay. And also simultaneously talk about like what the Democrats could do to fix their branding issue. You won't. Trump will be your king till 2040, lol. I mean, this is the type of stuff that I'm actually confused by, because like if you say stuff like that, like don't you realize that's just bad for the whole world? And it's certainly bad if you're in America. It's bad for you too. I'm not going to ban this person, but like saying that, especially today, one day after the Trump administration went to, I'm memeing, dude. Okay, well, some people aren't memeing. Some people do come in and they go, oh, Trump is your God king, bitch. Keep crying, loser. And it's like, you know, I guess that chatter was like trolling, but some people do legitimately think that that is like reason enough to be an advocate for Donald Trump. And I'm always confused by that, because it's like, well, brother, you're cooked. I mean, you're looking at an unprecedented affordability crisis where the administration has basically admitted that there is recession happening in key sectors in this country. And also on top of that, the Trump administration, after a record-breaking lengthy shutdown, has decided to continue the shutdown rather than actually concede to the very reasonable demands that the Democrats are making, and also have made things worse by starving 42 million Americans by force, even though the lower courts actually dictated that the additional $6 billion in SNAP subsidies that are already out there, like the contingency fund that's out there, cannot be used to, in the interim, fund the SNAP programs that 42 million Americans rely on to feed their children. 16 million children rely on SNAP, right? And the administration went to the Supreme Court and openly said, no, fuck that. We do not want you to fund this. And they're running around. They are running around currently celebrating that. How do I explain to a coworker who thinks that this isn't anything special and that he's fine? Like, how do you shortly say all of this? I mean, just ask him, like, one of the aspects that has been very damaging to the way that people reflect on the Trump administration has actually been the ballroom shit. I can't believe it, but it does feel like the electorate broadly got annoyed with the fucking ballroom. Like, that was a unique moment of discontent. Another one was the Zelensky thing. Like, it just blows my mind that the stuff that people actually care about is the unpresidential qualities of this president, and not the actual impact and not the actual devastation. It is kind of crazy how image obsessed most people are still, where they see people starving and that doesn't piss them off on its own, but they see people starving. They see the Trump administration refusing to release the Epstein files. That was another moment that put a little bit of a dent, right? But the straw that broke the camel's back, it seems, is the fact that this motherfucker is building a ballroom. Yeah, it's basically the Roaring '20s in color. Yeah, look at this. 2 articles published on the same day. Are you radicalized yet? Balance zero. SNAP recipients go without food after benefits don't arrive. Elon Musk. Tesla shareholders approve $1 trillion pay package for Elon Musk. The money will be awarded in a series of payments over 10 years if Tesla meets a series of performance benchmarks. What are we doing? No one should have $1 billion, let alone $1 trillion. I cannot comprehend this. And I don't understand how there are people who will ride for this. There are people who still go, no, that's fine. That's good, actually. This is prosperity. This is a good thing. You're silly. You don't understand. This is a good thing. It's like, no, this is just as much a failure of the system as the reality that there are homeless people in the wealthiest country on the planet. Almost 1 million of them, 600, 700,000 people go to sleep without actual shelter every single day in the wealthiest nation on the planet. Okay? That is a policy failure. And this is a policy failure as well. I forced myself to watch some of the Tesla shareholder meeting, and it baffles me how this guy's, this is the guy we're essentially choosing to be the world's first trillionaire, just pure ketamine-filled rants, over-promising and throwing out wild numbers and nothing to substantiate them. The entire crowd is dead silent until they hear, but stock go up, burr, and then they cheer without even understanding what they're cheering for. It's all, it's gotten to a point where, like, I personally think the stock market is just a straight-up scam, where the fundamentals, the market fundamentals don't matter. Where fundamentals have nothing to do with the stock performance, and it's more so just that there are too many vested interests that are like Tesla is becoming like almost too big to fail in this way, where there are too many financial investments into Tesla, so they have to just keep making it seem like the stock is actually outperforming expectations, even though it's collapsed in and of itself. But it's utterly decoupled from the fundamentals, because it's not like people are just still purchasing Teslas. Like, that's not happening. They are overly reliant on this unimaginably unstable and incompetent person, Elon Musk, and the fact that, like, as long as he keeps over promising and never delivering on those promises and people don't punish him for it, then it's fine, because stock price keeps going up. Yeah, $1 trillion pay package for a company with $17 billion in revenue. It's fucking ridiculous. I think stonks have to go up. Always. Stonks always have to go up, no matter what, because there are too many wealthy people that realize that if we brought the market back to like actual fundamentals, many of the top earners for them, many of the top overperforming stocks for them would collapse in its entirety. This is yet another example of this, right? OpenAI. In a new podcast, Sam Altman says, when something gets sufficiently huge, the federal government is kind of the insurer of the last resort, as we've seen in various financial crises. Given the magnitude of what I expect AI's economic impact to look like, I do think the government ends up as the insurer of last resort. But there is one other problem here, okay? When you get too big to fail, oh, I saw this as well. 4 days out from my life-changing surgery, Aetna has denied the appeal for my brain surgery. To be clear, when I signed up to Aetna months ago, the coordinator had confirmed they would cover the surgery. Then a week ago, they said the surgery was too experimental/elective and denied coverage. We appealed. The appeal was just denied today. Now my neurosurgeon is trying to do a peer-to-peer consult with someone at Aetna to explain why I need it so we don't lose the surgery date on Monday morning. Aetna is not being responsive. This is sadistic and a violation of basic trust. Please spread this so they can't ignore it. They may not care if I live or die, but people should know just what kind of company they're dealing with. And please pray they are able to have a peer-to-peer consult with my neurosurgeon and have a change of heart. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, this is an untenable system. How can people not look at this and say, this is devil work? But as long as some people are making money somewhere along the way, it's fine.
At some level, when something gets sufficiently huge, whether or not they are on paper, the federal government is kind of the insurer of last resort, as we've seen in various financial crises and insurance companies screwing things up. So I guess, given the magnitude of what I expect AI economic impact to look like, sort of, I do think the government ends up as like the insurer of last resort, but I think I mean that in a different way than you mean that, and I don't expect them to actually be like writing the policies in the way that maybe they do for nuclear.
And there's a big difference between the government being the insurer of last resort and the insurer of first resort.
Why is he saying that in public? Well, two reasons. One, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. And two, this is actually an assurance to the investors. He's saying that because he realizes that right now there is a little bit of panic around the AI bubble, that it might actually be a bubble. I obviously think it is. And they're over-promising something that at least more educated people keep telling me is impossible. AGI, right? Like the notion that they are going to have this explosive advancements in AI technology that magically arrives us at artificial general intelligence, like what you understand as like iRobot, right? Like the actual real AI, not LLMs, not just chatbots, but like real working artificial general intelligence. And the thing is, Well, that has been the promise thus far. That requires a tremendous amount of investment and a tremendous amount of failure along the way. We're not even talking about the goals of AGI, obviously. The goals of AGI is to displace the labor force in its entirety. Having said that, what they're trying to accomplish is just like beat China to AGI, or at least a more competent version of AI that can successfully displace the existing labor force and create new super profit structures, okay, which rid the need for labor in its entirety. And God knows what that would do to the already exploding wealth disparity that exists in this country and in the Western world in general. Having said that, because there are fears that they might not be able to continue white knuckling through this process, that he has to sit there and say, no, don't worry, the government will bail us out. The problem, however, is if the bubble bursts after becoming enormous, and it has already, because outside of the AI stock market gains, the GDP growth in this country last year was 0.1%. Okay. It's like 5 major companies that are the entirety of the stock market at this point. Like it's insane. The bubble has gotten to such a ridiculous size that I don't even know if the American government could save it or could bail it out. So, like, I think there is such a thing as like too big to fail. But then there is also such a thing as like something that has become so large that even the American government can't bail it out. And if there was anything that would do it, yeah, there's too big to fail and then there's too big to bail. If there's anything that is close enough to being too big to bail, where it ends up cooking the American government and collapsing the global financialized economy, it could be this AI bubble. The problem is that there's a liquidity crisis, a private credit crisis, private equity is over leveraged, commercial real estate is dying, repo is up, unemployment is the worst it's been since 2003. These are dominoes. The American government is not nimble enough to do anything about it, or competent enough to do anything about it, or the American government structure, albeit still incredibly powerful, does not have the proper tools to do anything about it, because their entire purpose is to advance the interests of capital. And capital has a tendency to self-destruct. Capital is so invested in short-term gains that they don't even realize the broader long-term consequences of these actions, of this gamification of the system. So they get ahead of their own long-term stability interests. Because when everything collapses, you're cooked. All of the wealth in the world will not help you, right? What are you going to do? Even if you are so wealthy that you can hire like private mercenaries to defend you and hire private services that only serve the interests of the super, super, super wealthy, do you really want to live in that world? Like, what good is that world if it does not, if it's not the world that we know right now? Like, what does it matter? Is it even worth living in a world like that? And the same argument could be made for climate change as well, where it's like a lot of these wealthy billionaires think, we can overcome, especially in the short term, the most damaging aspects of anthropogenic climate change. But it's like, but do you want to live in a world where there is extreme weather conditions all the time? Like, are you that short-sighted that you can't see that this is not a habitable world to live in, especially for your next generation as well? It's crazy. Anyway, what is this? They're saying that Fox News is still doing analysis over Zoran Mamdani. Let's move on to this, and we'll get to the SNAP benefits being cut in a second.
To that end, there were some Zoranistas at Zoran Mamdani's victory party. Let's check out who the Zoranistas were.
Look who it is. Oh my God. I'm only going to cost some real trouble. Did he vote 65 times? We got Mahmoud Khalil is here. Mahmoud Khalil is here. And he voted 5 times. He voted illegally 5 times.
So I just want to be clear. Jamal Bowman, he's the fire alarm puller. Reports say he could be leading New York schools, so he's there. Then you have Hassan Piker, who's made some controversial statements. He was joking about Khalil voting there, I would note. But your thoughts on this crowd?
Yeah, Bowman, who pulled the fire alarm. So now if he becomes the head of the New York schools, anytime you don't want to take a test, pull the alarm, kids. Here you go. The boss did the same thing. All right. Listen, you know, it's ridiculous, but that's what it is. He's an unemployable, and so they're going to give him a gig. And by the way, that's one of the best gigs in the city. You get a brownstone. It's well paid. As far as Piker goes, he shouldn't be admitted to polite company anywhere in this country.
Brother, you're a Fox News host. What the fuck are you talking about?
In my estimation, he hates this country. He said America deserved 9/11. He has said that communism is the honorable outcome of socialism, so we know how he's thinking. And he also said, and this is a quote from the Victory Party, that America, unfortunately, won the Cold War. Unpack that. Between Lenin...
Yeah. Literally a scholar, by the way. Yeah. I love that they... I love that this is like this rustles so many feathers because they're just like relying on an unlimited amount of Red Scare propaganda at a time when like most people don't really give a shit and they're so far removed from that environment where there was a scary other out there that must be forcibly fought back against every step of the way. That like I don't think this has that same level of motion. That's the reason why nobody gives a shit. Part of the reason why nobody gives a shit is because most young people look to the system and go, why would I defend it? Why would I defend anything that I'm experiencing? I have no hope for a better future. Why would I defend the system? There's nothing to defend. What am I defending? More porn consumption, more gambling everywhere, and I guess like some treats that I can get that fries my dopamine receptors, but there's no positive material outcome here for someone like myself. That's the way a lot of young people feel. So they're like, what do you mean? Does the USSR have a right to exist? I agree. Yeah, can't wait for a lifetime of crippling debt and then adding on more debt into my lifetime of crippling debt because I had to pay an arm and a fucking leg to pay for college so I could be a more productive laborer for the American capitalists. Okay. And then on top of that, what else? Oh, I'm going to get a fucking lifetime of debt when I end up having a medical issue after also paying a fuck ton to just get the healthcare anyway. And then they're going to fight me every step of the way to make sure that they don't pay for the healthcare that I paid for. Because that's what insurance is. Like, who the fuck is looking forward to that system, to defend that system? Yeah, look forward to that 50-year mortgage that you can pass to your kids. Except even that is unmanageable. Who the fuck has enough of a down payment? How are the banks going to work with the 50-year mortgage? And on top of that, who the fuck even has the down payment or the capacity to pay for that 50-year mortgage anyway? Like all that basically does is create a unique environment where like the houses will seemingly be more affordable, but not really. Although I agree with your overall analysis, do you not think this is going to work as a great message and is going to be used out of context to make people fear you? I mean, everything I say is used out of context to make people fear me. Like, I just don't think that it has any motion whatsoever. At least that when the USSR existed, there was the threat of an alternative. Okay? Look at the deterioration of material conditions in the aftermath of the collapse of the USSR. This is before we even talk about what happened to all of the countries in the all the countries that were under the banner of the USSR and how devastating that was for everyone that lived there. You know, child prostitution rates skyrocketing, people just straight up, the life expectancy collapsing because people were just like straight up killing themselves. Okay. But even then, there was always the concept of a threat of a good example. Okay. That is what kept European social democracy afloat. That is what kept European social democracy alive. Okay. That is also what kept whatever remains of our social safety nets alive as well for as long as it did. Bro, you're going to get arrested?
And Stalin, you're talking between 20 and 30 million dead. But I guess a lot of them were Jewish, so it doesn't count that much.
Man, scary stuff. And we also have news that we're going to bring next hour.
I love the USSR as like a all systems boogeyman. Like you can use it for everything. If you're a Nazi, if you're an anti-Semitic Nazi, you can say, oh, the USSR was devastating because it killed 100 billion goyim. Okay, it killed all the white goys, led by Trotsky, who was Jewish, and they slaughtered all the good Christian population of Russia and the surrounding region. And if you are a I guess pro-Jewish Nazi, you can be like, no, they actually killed all the Jews. They killed everybody. You know, you have something in there to design as a boogeyman. Is awesome. Because I hear both. I hear both arguments all the time. Obviously, the traditional fascist movement, used to say they killed all the Christians. They killed all the white Christians. And the new modern version of the new modern iteration of fascism will say sometimes that they killed all the Christians, but then they'll say they killed all the Jewish people.
About Zoran Mamdani's stylist and the cost of the beers at that party. You won't believe it for the socialists. Champagne socialism. Paul Morrow, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Will.
Yeah, great analysis. Love it. KK Kathy Hochul is funny. I like that.
I'm from Buffalo. We don't put up with a lot of crap. So I just want to set the stage that, you know, you look at the history of people who've run multi-million-dollar ad campaigns to try and get me to change my position. I don't change my position. So I just want to put it out there. I respect people's opinions. I respect the proper place to convey them. And so I've said to people, I hear you. And that was important. But also, there's a time and place. And so that's all on that. No, I've had conversations on this trip, but many conversations, I'd say over the summer and the fall, that were important, that led to an understanding of what's in the realm of possibility, shared ambitions, but what is doable is the question. And so, no, we're aligned on so many of these issues. You know, I've made it clear where I have strong disagreements with issues that really do not pertain to.
Bro, I'm on your YouTube channel. What is this video?
New York City. I've said you need to get a police commissioner that people trust, who has a record of accomplishment to keep the trajectory that we're on right now, which is crime is going down. Crime is going down significantly. You don't say mission accomplished, but that is a great trend. So him agreeing with that assessment, that recommendation to keep Jessica Tisch, was an important statement on many fronts. So I'm looking.
So here's the big division, right, between Kathy Hochul and Zoran Mamdani's politics. Like, this is one of the instant divisions between the establishment Democrat wing of the party and the socialist momentum that is responsive to the needs of the base. Zoran Mamdani doesn't just say, oh, I'm going to do fast and free buses. He says, we're going to make wealthy people pay for it, right? These guys also say, oh, yeah, we want affordability, but they never actually say how they're going to reach affordability for the working class. They don't want to even engage in the most modest redistributive policies. Okay? And that's the major difference. That is the major difference here. Is there a serious contender for New York governor in 2026? I thought Kathy was more responsive to these sorts of forces, but in the absence of a serious contender from her left flank, maybe she's not. And if she keeps talking like this is going to allow for a much more, this is going to allow for a knife fight. Now, the problem is, if there is a crowded primary or a serious knife fight here, does that open up the wave for Stefanik? Because Elise Stefanik, the reality of the matter is Elise Stefanik is not winning the fucking governor of New York, okay? That is not fucking happening. There's no way. One, she's ambitious, she's a careerist, but she's also dog shit on camera in a contentious media environment. That's number one. She flies off the fucking handle far too quickly. She has a hair trigger. She is repulsive. And more importantly, she is tied to the hip to Donald Trump, who is only getting more and more unpopular as days go on. Okay? So there is no shot that New York State goes, oh, Elise Stefanik, love her. Okay? The reason why we're talking about Elise Stefanik, for those of you who don't know, is because Elise Stefanik has put out a bid, officially launching her long-awaited campaign for New York governor. But Lawler, though, no, none of these guys can win. Lawler can't win. No one associated with Trump is winning the New York governor's race. Okay? Make no mistake. It's 75-25 at best. Do you understand me? I'm telling you right now, okay? I'm even more confident on this than I was on, my assessment that Zoran will win and become the mayor, okay? There is no world, especially right now, especially when there is so much anger and resentment towards Trump in a place like New York fucking state, you'll see 10%, okay? It'll be 1090. I'm going crazy with it. Anybody that is associated with Trump will get clobbered. And I think Hochul is relying on that. The problem is, in the absence of a significant contender, in the absence of a serious left flank governor candidate, she thinks she can get away with this major victory over whatever the Republicans present as an alternative, and therefore she doesn't have to play ball with Zoran. So now, if there is a serious left contender, they could technically unseat Kathy, or at least put the fear of God in Kathy's heart to play ball with Zoran. A lot of people are saying it's Antonio Delgado. I'm not super familiar with him or his campaign, but I'll look into it. I asked Hochul about this comment. I'm from Buffalo. We don't put up with a lot of crap. So I just want to set the stage now that you look at the history of people who run multi-million-dollar ad campaigns to try and get me to change my position. I don't change my position. So I just want to put it out there. I respect people's opinions. I respect the proper place to convey them. And so I said to people, I hear you. And that was important. But also there's a time and place. So that's all on that. Antonio Delgado, who's running for Antonio Delgado, who I believe endorsed Zoran as well, is running for this seat. I personally think that anyone that leans into the Zomentum and says that they will play ball with Big Z will be rewarded greatly. But that also requires Big Z to play ball with this, whoever this candidate is. And I don't know how that's going to play out. Will he be fearful? Or will he actually lean into the momentum that he has to actually unseat Hochul and put forth a person that is willing to go along with this agenda? Anyway,
overnight, a Supreme Court justice temporarily.
Let's get to the fucking extra evil shit that the Republicans have been doing as the vice signaling party.
Blocking an order to release fully funded SNAP benefits. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's order, coming after the Trump administration appealed a decision from a federal judge who ordered them to pay up. The temporary pause gives the appeals court more time to weigh the legal arguments in the case. Attorney General Pam Bondi posting, a single district court in Rhode Island should not be able to seize center stage in the shutdown, seek to upend political negotiations, and dictate its own preferences for how scarce federal funds should be spent. At least 9 states, including New York, Kansas, Pennsylvania, and Oregon, say they're starting to send full SNAP food assistance benefits. But the 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP are still in limbo. In Cleveland, Ohio, 75-year-old Diane Howard gets just $63 a month in SNAP benefits.
Open up the government so seniors like me and others and people that have children can eat.
And she doesn't know how she can celebrate the upcoming holidays with her family.
Thanksgiving is coming up. I don't know. I'm just praying.
Meanwhile, Democrats are offering to reopen the government if Republicans agree to extend Obamacare subsidies for 1 year to prevent healthcare insurance premiums from skyrocketing for millions of Americans.
Democrats are offering a very simple compromise.
But Republicans dismissing the offer.
Of course, that's a non-starter.
Our Democratic colleagues are asking me to do something I cannot and will not do.
And overnight, former President Joe Biden blasting the Trump administration.
Now we have a president who's deliberately making hunger worse for Americans. It is a disgrace. It's immoral. It's wrong. Simply wrong.
So clearly, Republicans are not on board with the Democratic proposal. They say they will not talk health care until Democrats vote to reopen the government. But guys, in the meantime, it is not lawmakers who are paying the price of this shutdown. It's the federal workers who are missing their paychecks and millions of Americans who are caught in the middle of this. Gio?
That is such an important point, Selena. It's all about the American people. Thank you so much for your reporting here.
The ongoing impact of the historic government shutdown, now in its 39th day. Late last night, the Supreme Court granted the Trump administration's emergency appeal to temporarily withhold about $4 billion to fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. The ruling by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson gives the lower court more time to consider the administration's arguments, but it adds to the uncertainty of the program, which helps feed 42 million Americans. For the first time since the shutdown began, the Senate will work through the weekend to try to end the impasse. President Trump is spending the weekend at his Florida resort. That's where our Willie James Inman has traveled to meet with the president. Willie, good morning.
Michelle, good morning to you. That temporary block on SNAP benefits by the Supreme Court adds to the confusion millions of Americans are feeling as they wait for food assistance and as the Trump administration targets meat-packing companies over the price of beef.
This weekend, the president is directing the Department of Justice to investigate what he describes as price fixing and price manipulation by foreign meat-packing companies. The president offering no evidence to support his claim. His social media post comes as he appeared to brush aside concerns about rising prices earlier this week.
I don't want to hear about the affordability.
On Friday, he elaborated on his earlier comment, claiming prices are lower under his watch.
They said, oh, I don't want to talk about affordability. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under Sleepy Joe Biden. And the prices are way down.
But a new report shows consumer sentiment dropped in October as Americans expressed concern about prices. Meanwhile, some 42 million Americans are without food assistance. On Friday, the Department of Agriculture said it would fully pay out benefits following a judge's order. The Trump administration appealed to the Supreme Court, saying paying the benefits in full would take away from other programs. Some Americans expressing frustration with Washington.
Get together and really think about it's for the people. It's not for you. It's for the people.
The longest government shutdown in American history showing no signs of ending. President Trump putting pressure on senators to stay in Washington this weekend to end the political stalemate.
We have a shutdown, as you probably know, because the Democrats have gone, they're crazy. They're crazy. But they don't care if they hurt the country.
Republicans want to extend government funding before any talks with Democrats on health care take place. But on Friday, Democrats presented an alternative plan, which includes an extension of Obamacare tax credits.
Leader Thune just needs to add a clean one-year extension of the ACA tax credits to the CR so that we can immediately address rising health care costs. That's not a negotiation. It's an extension of current law.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune dismissed the Democratic proposal, but the Senate will be in session this weekend as lawmakers try to work out a deal, all while those SNAP benefits remain in limbo. Dana?
All right, Willie, thank you.
This week, a task force dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism reportedly decided to sever ties with the conservative Heritage Foundation. It comes after the think tank's president, Kevin Roberts, defended Tucker Carlson's interview with a far-right anti-Semitic activist. This infighting has laid bare a growing schism within conservative circles over how to address anti-Semitism. William Brangham reports.
Nick Fuentes, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I wanted to meet you.
The interview, which lasted over 2 hours, was posted late last month and has been seen over 20 million times. The conservative commentator Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes, the 27-year-old hard-right influencer with millions of followers known as Groypers. Fuentes is known for his open racism.
White people have a special heritage here as Americans.
His misogyny, like when he wrote "Your Body, My Choice" after the 2024 election.
The whole political system is just based around women never being accountable for any of their choices.
And his overt anti-Semitism, ranging from Holocaust denial to his belief in a global Jewish conspiracy.
A big challenge to that is organized Jewry in America. I don't think
the interview with Carlson drew quick, sharp condemnation from many in the conservative movement. Ben Shapiro.
Dude, Israel wishes that they could get all the Jews in order. It's so funny because one, Jews love to argue in general, and two, if that was the case, there would be no need for like unlimited amounts of Zionist propaganda baked into the collective consciousness of young American Jews, basically from like J camp all the way until college. There would be no need for it. Everybody loves to argue. Yeah, I know, I'm joking, but the meme is 2 Jews, 3 opinions. My favorite type of anti-Semitic conspiracies are the ones that are so like objectively against the stereotypes, not like the super, harmful stereotypes, but like the funnier stereotypes that Jewish people have, like the notion that like Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese got together to build coronavirus. Like the idea that like Ashkenazi Jews notoriously never get sick. Yeah, they built a virus that would avoid Ashkenazi Jews is so funny to me. Yeah, the famously resilient to ailments.
Editor of the conservative Daily Wire wrote, "No to the Groypers, no to the cowards like Tucker Carlson who normalize their trash."
Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic.
But Kevin Roberts, head of the Heritage Foundation, defended Carlson. Heritage is the influential conservative think tank behind Project 2025, and which has long supported Israel and America's support for it. Roberts argued attacking Carlson was a distraction.
The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right.
Roberts faced a strong backlash, including from staffers within Heritage, and calls for his resignation. He later apologized and denounced Nick Fuentes specifically. But the controversy has revealed the ongoing challenge of balancing different factions within the MAGA base.